Hello, good afternoon. This is Dr. Stephen Evans, the publisher and editor-in-chief of Outclick magazine. This afternoon, we're pleased to welcome Joe Cox. Joe is the president and CEO of MODS, also called the Museum of Discovery and Science, right in the heart of Fort Lauderdale. Joe, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. It's a very strange situation to be running a museum from your dining room table at the afternoon in the middle of the week, but we've all learned to adapt very, very quickly. A wonderful scientific process. So adaptation and evolution is happening right as we speak.
Mm-hmm. I tell people when we start, I'm looking away because I'm managing two different screens. So as I'm looking away, I'm not ignoring you. I'm sharing the videos on our Facebook page, and I'm looking away to manage content. So that's why I'm kind of got my attention spread, because I'm playing moderator and Facebook share at the same time. So and you're welcome to do the same. And if people are watching and viewing, feel free to jump in for questions for Joe about the museum that you might have. And if you can share this on your page or your groups or around, that would be great. Joe, start off by telling us about the museum under normal circumstances, what kinds of services you provide, what is all about the MODS.
Sure. So the museum's been in town since 1977. We were originally founded as the Discovery Center, and we were in a small building, which actually is now where the wonderful museum History Fort Lauderdale is. Right down on the Riverwalk. And we outgrew that space, and in 1992 opened up the campus right next door to the Broward Center, which is 150,000 square feet of hands-on immersive space. And it's also where we have our AutoNation IMAX Theatre that a lot of people may have visited. But really, we're a museum dedicated to connecting people to inspiring science. And each and every day, thousands of people stream through the doors to come face to face with scientific concepts they may have never discovered before, to visit new experiences, to try new hands-on immersive science, to get messy, to get loud, to fall in love with science. And that's what we do each and every day.
And you have one fun new exhibit that I was just a part of. If you want to maybe tell us a little bit about that exhibit.
So dinosaurs?
Yes, that one.
Yeah. So Expedition Dinosaur, we were absolutely thrilled. That opened up earlier this year. And Expedition Dinosaur is 12 life-size dinosaurs. We've got velociraptors, Stegosaurus, Triceratops, and they're all motion simulated. They move, they interact with visitors. Really, really popular exhibit. We were seeing great numbers coming through the door. The exhibit, dinosaurs in science museums are always just really, really fun to have. Particularly, when you're 3 or 4 years old, they look really, really big. And so we had our Expedition Dinosaur Discovery After Dark, our adult night. But no, that exhibit opened up in February, and we had actually aligned it with the very first dinosaur IMAX movie that had been made in over a decade, Dinosaurs of Antarctica. So the two of those together was a pretty strong start to spring, and yeah, little did we know.
And I got to interview one of the scientists that was in the movie that you showed there in the IMAX Theatre.
You did. He had actually come out from the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History to be with us for the opening night. The research that they've been doing down in Antarctica is absolutely fascinating. One of the things that we've been exploring a lot at the museum is climate change and resiliency. And so we were really able to tie in the dinosaur exhibit and Dinosaurs of Antarctica into looking at stories of resiliency and climate change. Because when you go back and look at the fossils that we're finding in Antarctica, the fossils that we're finding are, tropical plants and animals that were adapted to warmer habitats. So they've been able to, piece all of this research together and recognize that Antarctica was a much, much warmer place millions of years ago. And of course, there's so much to be tied into the world of resilience today and kind of where we are in South Florida.
The movie was really fascinating. It was in 3D, and getting to actually talk to the scientist on site was a really interesting experience. So thank you for bringing that. Normally you work with a lot of schools, and you go by and there's just buses. And how do you interact with the school systems? And before I started doing this, I didn't realize what a huge operation and how really many children you bring in every day.
We do. We see about 90,000 school children coming through the museum every year, not just from Broward County, but from Palm Beach, from Dade, and public and private schools. Home schools come to us on field trips. So this time of year is peak school field trip season, and as you say, there's usually a dozen yellow school buses lined up outside the museum, coming in for science programs, for classes, for labs, for demos. And, we do a lot of work throughout the year to fundraise to subsidize so many of those school field trips to be able to come to the museum. So through our, funding partners, we raise money to try and provide access to, children from Title I schools to be able to have a museum field trip. Partnering with social service agencies like Boys and Girls Club or Jack and Jill to be able to come to the museum for free as well. So it's missing that energy, when you've got 1,000 kids going through the museum, their eyes lighting up as they're coming face to face with the megalodon or, watching the otters play. It's very odd to be so strange and so quiet in the museum right now.
That's one of the things that I notice when you go there. It's not a typical museum of quietness, walking around, looking at exhibits. It is a very, very active, I don't want to say loud, but it is a very active museum. The exhibits are noisy, they're interactive, the children and everything. It's a different type of museum experience. It's not a quiet place to sit. It is a place to go and interact and hear the laughter of the children and all the interactivity that's going on. So I'm sure now it's quite the contrast with it being so quiet, but you can definitely feel the energy the minute you walk in when you see the is it a water clock? What is that called there in the front?
Yeah, the Great Gravity Clock right at the entrance. Yeah, so I like to call it the happy hum of learning.
Yes.
It's a very loud hum, but it's definitely a background hum. And it's funny because we've captured a little bit of that in some of our online programming that we've been doing. We did our very first Zoom story time the other day with about 100 different families on Zoom participating. Okay. And when we were asking for questions or, feedback, getting that background noise from all of those different families talking at the same time reminded me a bit of being in the museum.
Yeah. It's always, the energy there is always really great. And then I think a lot of people know that you have the IMAX as well. That's separate, but part of the museum. It's a huge, amazing theater. I've been several times to some of the shows. If you want to tell us a little bit about the IMAX, both what you like as an experience and what kind of content you have.
Yeah, so the AutoNation IMAX Theatre is by far and away the most dramatic movie theater experience that we have in South Florida. Whether it's the laser technology IMAX that we have, the sound system is just thunderous. When we're showing a movie like Jurassic Park or any Marvel movie in there with explosions and rumbles and roars, you can literally feel the whole building shake. But the wonderful thing about it is it's very adaptable. So, we show the great big movies in there. A lot of the movies that we had lined up for this summer have now been moved back into the fall. So while there's still a few movies that are holding on to summer spots, I know Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan movie, is still on the schedule for July, and Wonder Woman 2, or Wonder Woman 84, as it's called, is I think on this calendar still for August. But most of the summer movies have now been moved into the fall season, which means it's going to be a spectacular season for movies this fall. We do also, show documentary movies in there. So we have a brand new movie coming out when we reopen. It's currently on the schedule for June, so we're hoping that will be welcoming visitors by then. Of course, we're following all the guidelines about reopening, but we have a wonderful movie called Into America's Wild, which is this great exploration of some of the wildest places in America, IMAX cameras getting to them for the very first time, and it'll just be absolutely stunning. It's a great space, and yeah, we're excited. One of the things we're talking about now, of course, with social distancing and what is the impact on cultural institutions like ours after we reopen. When you think about mods and you think about the IMAX Theatre, we've got so much space, at 150,000 square feet of space and 300-seat IMAX Theatre. We're looking now at some social distancing measures. So when you go to the movie theater, you may be able to watch a movie and social distance at the same time.
I think that's one of the things everyone is wondering about and figuring out is what that will look like. And so I'm sure that's definitely on your mind in those kinds of guidelines. So, but the IMAX is a phenomenal experience for those that haven't been. Like you said, the sound is amazing and the screen is huge. So once that's back open again, we'll check out some movies and we'll maybe chat about some things that you've got coming up once the schedule becomes more solidified and things are coming up.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, and then you also have what's called Discovery After Dark, which is your adult platform and some connecting events at night.
It is. A lot of people went to mods as a kid, go to science museums as a kid on a field trip. And then, maybe that just drops off your radar as you become an adult. And so we've had a lot of success and a lot of fun with our Discovery After Dark evenings, where we open up the museum and there's a bar, there's some food. Shooters is typically our partner on the food side of things. We bring in different breweries, and we have all of the activities that you might have on a busy museum day. We've got our demos, we've got our animals, our animal ambassadors are out and about with our staff, doing great programs. I think at our Dinosaur one, we made Oobleck, which is a very cool kind of slime where it solidifies if you put pressure on it. So people were getting into slime and making slime. But it's a lot of fun. And we usually get between 400 and 500 people coming out to these. It's a great networking opportunity. We've partnered with the Chamber on the most recent one we did. So there's always opportunities for us to partner with different organizations as we present those as well.
They're a lot of fun. I've been to most all of them that I can go to. They're a lot of fun, and the interactivity and the energy and the music. And I went to one that was dancing. We just had a blast and just went out there and danced. I took a friend, and it turned into kind of a dance club. We had an absolute blast, and I thought, here I am in this kind of children's museum, and it was a lot of fun. We talk about how much fun we had that night, and just the food and just the atmosphere and everything. It really turned into a fun night.
Well, we have one on the schedule for later this summer, and our theme is going to be adult summer camp.
Okay.
So people can relive their summer camp years, or if they didn't go to summer camp, experience it for the first time.
Well, I've never been to summer camp, so maybe that's something I will come try. I'll bring my sleeping bag, it sounds like.
Exactly. It'll be fun.
And then you've got hopefully, if things are back open again, you have your second annual Pride event coming up this summer.
We do. That'll be the first Saturday in June, June 6th. Last year was just absolutely amazing. We had over 3,000 people attend, drag queen story times and the science of rainbows and glitter in just about every craft activity you could imagine. But I think the most important thing about that day was really just opening up the museum's doors to everyone. And that's really been something that we've been working very, very hard on for the last 2 years, is really making the museum accessible to everyone, no matter who you are, no matter what your family looks like, no matter your financial ability, but really trying to figure out how we can put programs in place to really make the museum for everyone and as inclusive as we possibly could be. And we're having some success with that, and we're really thrilled. So it means a lot that, it doesn't matter where you live in town. It doesn't matter, whether or not you can afford that program. We're trying to find ways to make sure that everyone can come to the museum and be connected to inspiring science.
I was a proud member of your inclusivity task force, and to see it really was an effort, and you all made great strides in that. I think the museum has always been welcoming, but to be even more progressive and even more intentional in doing that, I was very proud of all of your team. And I had a lot of fun doing it. It was quite an honor being on that task force. It was an honor being on that. So
you got a lot done. Thank you.
Yes, a lot. It was a lot of accomplishments. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about the COVID-19, of how that's affected everyone. Of course, the museum is shut down in person, but you've moved a lot of stuff online. You've got a lot of videos, a lot of interactive things online. And we touched on that a little bit. If you want to maybe tell us any more about those, or where people can find those.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. It was really a huge testament to our staff and our funders that we immediately pivoted and said, okay, so if the museum's going to be closed for the foreseeable future, how do we still engage? And so we closed down March 16th. And the next few days, we spent filming about 45 different short videos that we've been releasing daily, and people can visit our website or go to Facebook and sign up for our e-newsletters to get on that mailing distribution, or just go to our YouTube page and see them all as they're released. But over 2 days, we filmed 45 different videos, everything from, me making slime to animal encounters with our turtles, our alligators, our otters, blowing things up in our Kaboom show, freezing things in our Nitro show. And really, the idea was, if parents are going to be at home with their kids, let's make this as simple as possible for science learning, for science, technology, engineering, and math to still be part of what happens in these families' lives. So we provide, lists of everything that you need. We're doing story times for the younger kids. And so that was kind of our first big thing. And then we offered to Broward County Public Schools our assistance. And so we had created these videos, and what they were actually looking for, we've now developed 8 weeks of curriculum that we're rolling out week by week to support everyone from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade in STEM subjects. And we're looking at week by week different themes, from engineering to resiliency to physical science, health and wellness. And so working very closely with Broward County Public Schools. And that curriculum is now available on the Broward County Public Schools Canvas website. So every teacher has access to that. And we're providing that to Broward County Public Schools free of charge. Again, thanks to the sponsors who are helping us underwrite our programming. And, it's museums around the country are doing this. Every major museum around the country, science museums, art museums, have really stepped up in a very impressive way to kind of keep that content flowing. And so I just think it's really, and I know your readers recognize this, but just the importance of arts and culture, and why we've been shut down and locked in. How many people are whether going to virtual museum tours or watching Netflix for more hours on end. Art and culture play a big part in the development of all of these things, whether you're crafting at home or drawing at home. But let's not forget, how much we needed arts and culture while we were shut down.
I'm impressed at how interconnected the museum is with our school system, with our arts and entertainment, with the Broward Center, with it. You do not have a silo there of the museum. It is so interconnected with so many things. And you work with the Bright Line. You're very close to the Bright Line station. We went on the Polar Express. I took my mom and a friend, and we had a really good time with the Polar Express, and seeing that. You all did a fabulous job with that. So I look forward to that coming back and that being another experience maybe again next year.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really hopeful that they literally get back on track. We're bringing in a Thomas the Tank Engine exhibit this fall, so we were hoping for some fun alignment there. But this has really changed the world. So, as you say, we are always ready and willing and able to partner, to connect, because what we do at the museum is really about connections. The number one reason people go to museums is to have that personal connection with friends, with family, and so that's what we provide.
Well, as we're learning, I think we always knew that seeing shows and museums and church and all of that in real time was important, but this is underscoring even more so how important it is to worship live, or to experience the museums live, or the symphony or the opera or the choruses. That everyone's digital right now, and everyone's doing an amazing job with the digital that they have, but experiencing those things in person is really what it's all about. Experiencing them and seeing them, and the interaction with the audience members is really why we go, and hearing the music and seeing the exhibits and talking to people. And hopefully this will make everyone appreciate even more so the hard work that it goes into putting on the symphony and putting on the exhibits and putting on, and I know your job is not just putting on exhibits, it's also keeping the air conditioning running and keeping things clean, the doors open. And there's a lot of that part that people don't sometimes always remember, that a museum CEO of a museum is also making sure the ventilation system works and all that. And so that's still running, and you still have that to go, still have that to run.
Yeah, every day we've got staff at the museum, those essential services of feeding the animals, keeping the HVAC system, keeping the IMAX alignment going. So, in that first week before the stay-at-home order came down and everyone's been working from home now, we cleaned that museum from top to bottom. It is literally sat there sparkling, shining, and ready and waiting for people to come back through and re-engage and have that real experience that you just mentioned. All the online program in the world, it's wonderful. It's filling the need right now, but will always be the real experience.
Yes. Well, we look forward to that. Is there a favorite exhibit that sticks out in your mind that you've had or have? That may be a hard question to ask, but
there's so many. I love our megalodon, our life-size shark that we have in the museum in our Florida's fossils exhibit, just because it's so amazing. But I think the hangar, the new Makerspace exhibit that we opened up end of last year, really has been just a lot of fun for the museum, because every time you go in there, by nature of the creativity, we're always doing something new in that space. So you might go in one day and kids are making a city out of cardboard boxes. You go in another day and there's a robotics class going on. I walked in one day and kids were making pod racers from Star Wars out of found objects and programming robots to drive them around the museum floor. And these are, 7, 8-year-old children doing this. So I love that space because it really is just constantly a hub of energy, and there's always something new and exciting happening. And, I think that's true of the museum as a whole.
That's a fun one.
Yeah,
That's a
every
fun one.
single day there's something different happening.
If people don't know, Joe's real claim to fame is he was on the December cover of our magazine this past year. The museum secondary, he's really a cover model for a magazine. So
Absolutely. A wonderful magazine it is, Stephen. Wonderful.
thank you. It was a real honor shooting it there at the museum and for him to be on the cover. So we appreciate you doing that. We had a lot of fun shooting it in and around the museum and taking the time to do that. So if you haven't seen it, it was December of 19, this last holiday issue. So check that out online if you haven't seen that. So we had a lot of fun doing that. It was an honor for us. So how do we find you and or the museum online or social media? What's your website and all of that stuff?
Absolutely. So our website is mods.org.
Okay.
And so look us up. Our hashtag is modsftl for Instagram, and Google search will reveal all kinds of wonderful things. But we're on YouTube, Museum of Discovery and Science. So, I think the fact that you're having these conversations with so many cultural institutions is really appreciated, Stephen. This is a tough time for all of us, and no matter what industry you're in right now, everyone is struggling and really working to make ends meet. So what you're doing is really helpful, and to all of our members, all of our supporters who've continued their support and continue to donate to make sure that we can, bring these great content to the public, to Broward County Public Schools. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you. And if you go to mods.org, I'm sure there's a donate button on there somewhere you could click. So be sure to look for that as well. As far as us, we are outclick.com, facebook.com/outclick. We're on YouTube. And if you'd like to sign up, you can text OCQ to 22828 for more information on Outclick. So, Joe, is there anything I didn't ask that you wanted to throw in before we sign off?
No, I think I really would love for people to explore the work that we've been doing online. And this is a great time to go for a virtual visit of other museums around the country and around the world. So go see some of these museums. I mean, some of the opportunity to see galleries completely empty is never going to happen again. And people are really bringing out their most creative teams to develop some cool, amazing projects that you can do just with household objects sitting around. We've got a whole activity on ways you can entertain kids with leftover toilet roll papers. So now that everyone's hoarded all their toilet roll, you've got to do something with the toilet roll at the end of it. So lots of activities, and just stay safe. And we look forward to welcoming everyone back to the museum for more connections to inspiring science very, very soon, hopefully.
Thank you. And we'll see you at the Shark's Mouth. And again, this is Joe Cox from the Museum of Discovery and Science right here in the heart of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Joe. Have a great evening. Thank you.